All right, now that you have finished your video notes, it is time for the try it. These are those practice problems that you do along with me to practice using these new skills. So for this one, we're going to do 3 different try it. So I'm going to just split my page into 3 parts. Just going to kind of eyeball it. Do my best guess. And then for each spot, we are going to solve 3 different fraction multiplication problems. We're going to solve them using the visual model, and we're going to solve them using the algorithm. For the first problem, we are going to solve, I'm going to write 1, we're going to solve 1/2 times 1/3. For the second problem, we're going to solve 2/5. Let's not do 2/5, that's in the notes. Let's do 4/5 times 2/3. And for the last problem, we are going to solve 2/7 times 3/8. So these are the 3 problems we're going to solve. All right, as we're working through these, remember, you can always pause and try them out on your own and then check your work. You can also watch the video and then pause after I have solved a problem and go back and write all the problem solving steps. So you're in control of how fast or slow the video goes, and you can use it in a way that helps you best learn. So let's start with our problem number 1. We have 1/2 times 1/3. So first we're going to start with the model. The strategy here is I'm going to draw a unit square, and I need to be able to model 1/2 and 1/3 using this model. So first let's show 1/2. I'm going to start here on the side, and I know I need to cut it into halves. I want to do 1/2. So I'm going to cut it in half. And then you have a choice here. Some kids like to use I'm going to draw this and then erase it. Some kids like to use the lines going this way and the lines going this way. So I'm going to model that in one of them. Some kids prefer to use colors and have those colors overlap. I'll model that in the second one. But throughout this whole thing, you're welcome to use either the color strategy, like Mrs. Mulder showed in the notes, or you can use the cross-hatching strategy, which are the lines that you'll sometimes see in some of the iReady materials. All right, so first I'm going to start with 1/2, and I'm going to use my lines going this way to shade in 1/2. And now since I want to take 1/3 of 1/2, I'm going to show the lines going the other way. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to cut it into 1/3 going the other way. So I'm going to cut it into thirds, and I want to take 1/3 of 1/2. So I'm going to make my lines go the other way in that 1/3. So what I've done here is I showed 1/2 and then I did 1/3 on top of it. And then I can find this space here. I'm coloring it in red. That square represents 1/3 of 1/2. So when I look at this final drawing, I can ask myself how many pieces have shading going both directions. And in this drawing I can see I have one piece that has the shading going in both directions. And then I'm going to ask myself, how many pieces is the whole number cut into? And so if I look at it, I can say, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one piece is one piece out of 6 total. So the answer to what is 1/3 of 1/2, the answer is 1/6. And then I said I'd also show you how to solve it using the algorithm. So to do that, we just write 1/2 times 1/3 equals, and then if I look back in the notes, I can see the strategy is multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. And so let's do that. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. So I can check 1/6 I used my model, and 1/6 if I multiply with the algorithm. All right, let's try the next problem. The next problem is asking me to multiply 4/5 times 2/3. So let's do the model first. I'm going to set up my grid, or I should say I'm going to set up my unit square. I'm going to say that's worth 1. This rectangle is worth 1. Rectangle is a better word for it. There we go. All right, so first I need to do my 4/5. So I'm going to write 4/5, and I know I need to cut this into fifths. All right, I'm going to eyeball it. Since I can see there's 4 lines worth, and I need to make fifths, it's going to be a little bit smaller than each line. I'm going to do my best. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to do my best. There we go, 4/5. And this time I said I would model it with coloring, so I'm going to use colors. If you wanted to see what that'll look like, I could color in 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/5. All right, so I did 4/5 going one way, and now I want to do 2/3 going the other way. Let me get the right drawing tool here. Because I don't want to have all of that 4/5. I only want to have 2/3 of it. So let me try that again. There we go. 2/3. So to show 2/3, I'm going to cut it in half, or I'm sorry, I'm going to cut it into thirds. There we go. Going the other way. And I want to take 2 of those thirds. So let's go ahead and do that. Using my coloring tool. 1/3 and 2/3. Now, as I'm doing this, you can see there's that spot where they overlap. Oh, and for just a second, it showed up. I'm going to go back and fix it. For just a second, you could see the spot where they overlap was kind of like paint mixing. There we go. I have that spot that's both yellow and blue, so it turns green. Now I need to figure out the value of that overlap. What is that worth? To do that, I need to figure out how many pieces are part of the 4/5 and part of the 2/3. So I'm going to count how many pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 pieces that are part of the 4/5 and part of the 2/3. And now I need to figure out how many pieces my whole number is cut into. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this box in here, this overlap area, is what 2/3 of 4/5 looks like. It is worth 8/15. Oh, it doesn't want to let me color it red. So now we can also solve it using the algorithm, the strategy. To do that, we're going to write 4/5 times 2/3, and we're going to use the strategy. First, I multiply the numerators. 4 times 2 is 8. Then I multiply the denominators. 5 times 3 is 15. And you can see I've got the same answer. I should do that arrow at the top one too to prove it. All right, for this last one, I think I'm going to go back to the cross-hatching strategy. That one's a little bit easier for the average person to draw in their notes. However, if the color works way better for you, you are always invited to use the strategy that makes the sense to your brain. All right, let's look at the last problem. 2/7 times 3/8. I'm going to start by drawing my rectangle. And I need to do 2/7 times 3/8 to build my area model. So going across, I need to cut it into sevenths. It might be a little tricky, and that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if you're saying to yourself, hey, those are fractional pieces, they should be equal. You're right. They should be equal. Since I'm freehanding it, all I can do is my best. But you're right, they should be equal. All right, and now I want to show 2 of those 7ths. So I'm going to color in 2 of them with my lines. There's 2/7. All right, and now I'm ready to go the other way. I want to show 3/8. So I need to cut it into eighths. Eighths are easier to do because I can cut it in half and cut my halves in half to make quarters. And then I can cut each quarter in half, and that gives me eighths. There we go. And I want to take 3 of those eighths. So I'm going to shade in 3/8 going the opposite direction. There we go. Now, when I have lots of lines like this, it starts to get a little bit overwhelming. So it really helps my brain to grab that red that's really bright and box the spot where they overlap. I want to box the spot that represents the 2/7 and the 3/8 because I only want to take 3/8 of that 2/7. So I just boxed that to grab it, and I'm ready to figure out what it's worth. Our strategy has always been to count how many pieces are in that overlap area. So when I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can see that for 2/7 times 3/8, I have 6 pieces. Now I need to figure out what those pieces are worth by counting how many total pieces make up a whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, wait a second. These are multiples of 8. So I could just go down the row. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56. So the answer to what is 2/7 times 3/8, my answer is 6/56. Now let's prove it. Let's prove it using the algorithm. I'm going to do 2/7 times 3/8. I should be able to get the same answer with both strategies. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 times 8 is 56. If you're the kind of kid who likes to reduce, you probably noticed that this could be reduced. If you did the reducing, you should have come up with an answer of 3. Let's see here, 56 divided by 2. I'm going to check it just to be safe. 2. Oh, good. And that would be 16. 3/28. Now, this is not required in 5th grade here in Washington, but if you are one of the kids who's working on simplifying, you can go ahead and simplify your answer. All right, this is your practice work. Take a minute and make sure your notes are updated, and then you can start moving on to some practice of your own.